Good evening and welcome. It's Tuesday, March 10th, 2026. My, how time flies when you're having fun. And to continue along that path, you are watching Last Week Today. We are a compilation of the most important stories of the week from both legacy and new media. My name is Chuck Black, and my partner in crime tonight, as every night, is Richard Gagnon. Richard, how's it going?
Well, not too bad. As you can tell, I got a lot of sunshine, or the light anyway, shining on me. It's not sunshine, it's light. But hey, that's the time of year.
You are man, it's dark where I am. I've got all the house lights on tonight.
Yeah, well, it's won't be dark here for another few hours. I don't think what time is it now? 5 o'clock? 6 o'clock. It'll start to get dark a little bit.
Good for you. I appreciate the sunlight. I wish we have more of it than we did. The sun comes a little later in the day. It lasts for a little bit longer because the time changed 2 weeks ago. But I'm looking forward, not so much for March, but to April and May and June when the sun lasts for most of the day. I like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, should we go on to our first piece? We have a really busy show tonight. I hope
let us do that.
Our first story tonight is it's all about hate crimes. Hate crimes. We hate crimes, each and last one of us. The particular angle for this story about hate crimes is removing the exemption for religious beliefs from Canada's hate speech laws. We spoke a little bit about that on our Sunday show, and we spoke a little bit about it earlier in the week. But tonight we are going to talk more about Bill C-9, the Combating Hate Act. And as expected, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has put a backroom deal with the Bloc Québécois together. And the price for the deal is the removal of the good faith religious defense from not just Bill C-9, but also, he wants to remove it from Canada's criminal code, the entire criminal code. Now, the current good faith religious defense is a legal safeguard under Section 319(3)(b) of Canada's criminal code, protecting individuals from being charged with a hate crime for the willful promotion of hatred if they express or attempt to establish an opinion based on a religious subject or belief in a religious text. Up until now, if you reference God, you got away with saying just about anything. Now, the criminal code exemption, as outlined in the December 9th, 2025 CBC News post, Liberals back Bloc's proposal to remove religious exemptions from hate speech laws. That story talks about how the deal with the Bloc to pass the legislation requires changes to the criminal code, not just the legislation. And according to the post, the criminal code currently includes an exemption for hate speech if, in good faith, the person expressed or attempted to establish by an argument an opinion on a religious subject or an opinion based on a belief in a religious text. Essentially, reference religion, you have an exemption for hate speech, at least according to Canada law as it stands right now. But on Tuesday evening last week, the Justice Committee added a Bloc amendment to the Liberals' Bill C-9, dubbed the Combating Hate Act, and this amendment would remove the religious exemption. Now, the CBC noted that the Bloc has long sought to remove the religious exemption, saying religion could be used as a cover for promoting hate. Hate such as homophobia or anti-Semitism. And it's worth noting that last October 30th, during a meeting of the Standing Committee on Justice and Human Rights, Mark Miller, who is Canada's Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture, he's responsible for administering the proposed act. And he's also the minister responsible for the Official Languages Act. He admitted that because some religious texts contain passages he personally finds hateful, there should be discretion for prosecutors to press charges. And I think it's important to let that sink in. Your freedom to read the Bible or the Quran or the Old Testament, if you're a Jew, or even to disagree with it. Anything you reference in there, if somebody finds hateful, or if they disagree with the public policy relating to any of those passages, your freedom to speak might soon exist only at the discretion of a government lawyer, at least officially. Now, Freedom Forum has put together several pieces on Bill C-9 over the last few days. We put these together once we learned that the Liberals and the Bloc are combining the Bloc for the debate on the topic. That happened early today, and the pieces we put together include the March 8th, last week today segment on protests in Ottawa. Roasting the Press segment, my apologies, I got that wrong. Protests in Ottawa on March 12th against Bill C-9. And there's also the March 9th, 2026 Freedom Forum news post under the title, Comparing Canada's Online Harms Act with the UK's Online Safety Bill. Read that article. You will note that the legislature is almost identical. And over the last 3 years, the Online Safety Bill is huge. It blew up. There are thousands of government people on the dole administering the act, on the government payroll. I'm sorry. They're administering the act, and they are arresting a whole bunch of people for a whole bunch of really bizarro crimes they call hate crimes. And I sort of expect the same thing to happen in Canada when the Canadian version of this UK bill rolls out. And I think there's substantial overlap between the two bills. Now, Bill C-9 is still expected to pass sometime over the next week, perhaps as early as Friday. And anyone who wants to protest this obvious government overreach should check out the Stop C-9 website. It tells you where to meet on Parliament Hill on Thursday for the protest. And I'm going to drive out there myself. Maybe I can get some good footage we can talk about next time we get together. Richard, what do you think?
Yep. Well, it'd be nice to see what you come up with as far as the footage goes. But the entire thing, C-9, is just a waste of time. They're going to be throwing everybody in jail. They don't have enough jails to put everybody in because everybody's going to be charged with hate crimes of some sort.
Yes.
And no, it's going to be a waste of time.
But what they've been doing in the UK is they've mostly been fining people.
Yeah, of course. And
cutting off their banking. And some have been arrested.
Yep, take all your money out and learn to live frugally.
Maybe. And I agree with you. The only real solution here is for all of us to just say no.
Yep. And if everybody says no, then guess what? It is not a law anymore.
But I'm going to Ottawa. I'm staying with my sister. I think my sister is wise and smart. I've known her husband, my brother-in-law, for years and years. And the first thing they said was, of course you can stay with us. Just don't get arrested on Thursday.
Because we can't bail you out. Time for my mental floss.
You are in a bad way today. I shouldn't taunt you, but I think this is fairly serious.
It is.
I'm not sure if the solution to it is begging the government not to commit malfeasance. So I think you have a point there.
The government is going to find that people are just going to say no.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to basically ignore their own laws. They're going to have to cancel them.
Yes. I also noticed 20 years ago when AOL was the gateway program for most of us to get onto the internet.
Yeah.
The real internet was kind of like the dark web in those days. You never knew what was going on.
Right.
And a lot of things we are talking about now will go into the dark web, or it'll go further down in the web. We will still be able to write, but a lot of the surface areas of engagements, the YouTube, the Facebooks, the X's, they will slowly close off to people who don't agree with what they say.
Yep.
So I'm not sure that it's what.
That's fine. Well, Starlink will probably start losing a lot of customers then, because if they're going to be trying to force people to play that game too, then Elon's going to lose a lot of customers.
I discussed this on the article I wrote on Friday about the UK version of the literature of the bill and the Canadian version of the bill, and basically the legislation starts out fining the big Silicon Valley service providers first, much the same way that that bill from 2 years ago talked Google into paying money, and Facebook just said, "I don't want to play in this sandbox anymore."
Right.
And over time, they're going to slowly roll it out. Over time, they're going to fine and ban the Facebooks and the LinkedIn and all those things. But after a while, usually about 1 year into legislation, they are going to start sending police officers to private homes saying, you really shouldn't do that anymore. And if you keep doing that, we will arrest you or we will seize your bank records. And for a lot of people, that's not what they want to do.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not sure where to go with this, but I'm going to Ottawa on Thursday to see what I can find.
And it's a good thing I only work for cash.
To be fair, that gives you an advantage. I've got a reasonably large sum of money in the bank, and I pay a lot of stuff over the bank, so I have an objective trouble if this bill comes through.
Yeah. Well, in my case, my credit cards get paid for by my pension deposits.
Okay.
So that money it goes into my bank account, but it comes right out and goes into the other account.
Well, that's a good idea then.
Yep. Yeah. The thing is, though, is that if they decide to cut off my pension, stop depositing the money, then the credit card's not going to get paid.
Yeah, and then the problems will start. You will survive, but it'll be a different sort of life.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm really interested. It's interesting to see what's going to happen, but they're going to find that people are not going to accept anything that they're doing, and all this stuff about these bills, Online Harms Act, and all that crap. That's just going to have to go by the wayside.
I hope it does. I'm not sure it will. I know that the UK law passed after the EU online hate legislation was passed. So it's a plan. It was developed in the 1910s in the European Union. It was based, at least partially, on the Great Firewall of China, and it seems to be rolling out just about everywhere these days. It's kind of free.
I don't see it here.
Okay.
And I'm not seeing it happening in Australia because I'm still getting a lot of information from Australia.
Okay.
So whatever, the people are starting to stand up.
Mm-hmm.
Starting to say, "Screw you." Which,
well, I don't know. Maybe that will make a difference.
I think so.
We can go into our next piece and we can see a little bit about the people who are standing up against this legislation, if you'd like.
Okay.
Here we go. Also in the news this week. Now, the Bloc Québécois push to remove the good faith religious defense from the criminal code is driven by an interesting mix of ideological secularism and a response to specific incidents of extremism in Quebec. Since Canadian Prime Minister Carney holds only a minority government, the Bloc has used its 33 seats as leverage to demand this change, the removal of the good faith religious defense, in exchange for supporting the broader Bill C-9, the Combating Hate Act. And here's a quick breakdown of why they are taking this stance. And to beginning, they believe in what people in the rest of Canada essentially call radical secularism. I think it's spelled lecite in Quebecois. Now, the Bloc's platform is rooted in the Quebec model of state secularism. From their perspective, the law should be blind to religion. They argue that providing a specific legal exit ramp for religious speech creates a hierarchy where a person of faith can say things that a secular citizen cannot say. And by removing the defense, the bloc aims to ensure that hate is hate under the law, regardless of whether it is whispered in a pub or a bar or preached from a pulpit. Now, they also are focused on something called closing the Trojan horse loophole. Now, the bloc has pointed out that recent incidents, specifically a Montreal imam who allegedly used religion to pray for the extermination of a specific group, maybe the Jews, maybe the transsexuals, we don't know. But that is considered proof that the current law is too soft, if only because the imam's words are protected under the current good faith religious defense. Now, Quebec leaders argue that the good faith defense acts as a Trojan horse, allowing radical actors to wrap extremist and hateful rhetoric in the cloak of religious scripture to avoid prosecution. Even though legal experts argue the defense has never actually succeeded in a hate speech case, the bloc argues that the mere existence of this section discourages police and prosecutors from even laying charges. Bloc leaders also argue in favor of social cohesion over individual liberty. In the Quebec political context, social cohesion takes precedence over individual charter rights. The bloc argues that some religious texts contain passages that are fundamentally incompatible with modern Canadian values regarding women's rights and LGBTQ rights. They believe that if those passages are used to vilify a group, the good faith intent of the criminal code shouldn't matter. The harm to the social fabric is the same, always the same. Now, the Justice Committee's move in Ottawa, the Parliamentary Committee on Justice, their move to include this amendment has put Prime Minister Mark Carney pretty much in a corner. If he keeps the religious defense, the bloc pulls support and his minority government falls. If Carney removes the clause, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. If he includes the amendment, if he takes the amendment out, he risks a massive revolt from his own rural MPs and a direct conflict with a bunch of religious organizations, including the Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops and a whole bunch of other faith groups who've already sent emergency open letters to the PMO. These aren't just the Catholics. These aren't just the Jews. These are also organizations like the Canadian Public Affairs Council and the National Council of Canadian Muslims, who have also expressed serious concern that the bill lacks protection to ensure religious freedoms. And these groups will also be participating in the protest in Ottawa on Thursday. Now, some fear the removal of good faith religious defense creates a kind of a reverse blasphemy law, secular blasphemy, if you will, where the state now becomes the arbitrator of which parts of the Bible are illegal to read aloud. There's also the question of what happens to parents defending their children against trans rights activists. Certainly that will be affected as well. Trans rights are the sort of thing the bloc argues for these days. And I know several recent cases where a member of the school board said trans rights weren't his thing, and he was immediately blocked from the school board and got a $750,000 fine. He is going to appeal that. We are all going to appeal it, but it costs a lot of money to go to the Supreme Court and to question the constitutionality of any bill C9. And that brings us to my final question. How will the Carney government defend this in the Supreme Court when the inevitable charter challenge is filed by 10 dozen religious civil rights groups? Right now, nobody knows. Any suggestions on how this will proceed, Richard?
Yeah, I have a feeling that what's going to happen is once that the Jews and the Muslims decide that that they're not going to obey that, they're just going to set up a little civil war here and destroy the government that way.
The Muslims are braver than the Catholics. The Catholics are mostly old people. They will send a nasty letter.
Yeah,
but the Muslims, the liberals set this up. Most of the Muslims are 25 to 35 years old. They have small families, if they have families at all. A lot of them are single men. They are well capable of defending themselves.
Yep, and they were brought in by the liberals.
Yes, they were brought in by the liberals.
So
I also note that the Liberal Party is making an exception to put to the head of the line people looking to immigrate to Canada with military experience.
Yeah.
So we're going to have even more of those people willing to damn the government.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
You go.
It's crazy.
I think it's crazy, but I got no idea. I mean,
well, this is all part of the plan, though.
Tell me about the plan.
Canada's got to be taken down and be like a Venezuela, which is what we're on track to do.
I know that there are components of this that are obviously intentional. The plan, the social credit score thing rolled out in China first. It had a censorious component. They created the Great Firewall of China. It moved into the EU about 15 years ago. It started moving into the UK about 5 years ago, and now it's moving into Canada. It's moving right across Western nations.
Yep. And this is all stuff that's going to collapse very quickly.
You're saying these are plans that are intentionally supposed to lead to collapse.
Yep.
How long do we have?
Not much longer, that's for sure.
Yeah, then maybe it's a good idea to take all my money out of the bank.
Oh yeah, keep as much cash as you can on hand.
Wow. I don't know where to go next with this. Any more suggestions before we move on to the more fun pieces this week?
Oh, the fun stuff's about to begin, people. So just hang on. Put your seatbelts on your saddle, and be ready for the bumpy ride. Sit
back, relax, and stand by for adventure. That's what you're saying?
Yep.
Wow. Let's go on to another piece. This one is from the international arena. It is the U.S. military campaign against Iran. I hope you like the graphic. It's dubbed Operation Epic Freedom. I know several commentators who call it Operation Epstein Freedom because of the inference that it'll distract us from everything in the Epstein files. But its formal name is Operation Epic Freedom. It's entered its second week amidst escalating airstrikes, retaliatory attacks on civilian infrastructure, and significant economic disruption throughout the Middle East. Now, by March 10th, that's today, the war had expanded to include strikes on energy infrastructure, desalination plants, and attacks against regional allies. It's raised global concerns over humanitarian impacts, energy security, and what the end game of this war is, to be perfectly honest. Now, it was outlined in the March 9th Foreign Policy Post under the title, Targeting Iran's fragile water infrastructure puts the whole region in danger. According to Foreign Policy, a critical escalation this week involved attacks on desalination infrastructure. This is vital throughout the Middle East. Gulf states typically rely on desalination plants for between 70 to 90% of all their water, not just their drinking water, their bathing water, their industrial water, everything. If those factories shut down, suddenly huge portions of the Middle East will become immediately uninhabitable. And they are a target that most everybody has been avoiding, at least until this week. Now, it started when Iran accused the U.S. of hitting the Qasem Islands desalination plant on March 5th. In retaliation for that alleged attack, Iran then attacked and damaged Bahrain's desalination plant. This was on March 6th, the day after. Then they went after Kuwait on March 7th. These plants are still in operation, but they've both been damaged. Now, analysts warn this could spark a spiral of retaliation, destabilizing the region beyond just the problems they are currently having with oil. Sort of like tit for tat. You hit me, I hit you. You get annoyed that you were hit by me, you hit back, and then I hit back with you again. So it goes like forever. It's also worth noting that oil prices are kind of unofficially hovering around $100 a barrel. They peaked at 119.5 on March 8th before they fell, dropping down to about $85 on March 10th. That's earlier today on news that U.S. President Donald Trump insists the war will be over soon, but they've since gone up again, and I'll tell you a little bit why later. Actually, the reason's obvious. Disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz continue, and they broke into the public sphere today. This includes the dropping of Iranian mines, though there has been some limited transits. I know 2 outbound Chinese ships and 1 or 2 other independent players. Mostly Iranian and American ships have been held back. At present, it's also worth noting that 62 fully loaded oil tankers remain trapped in the Persian Gulf. They're too afraid to go out on their own. Trump's offered them insurance to replace the Lloyd's of London registry insurance that they've lost, but nobody's sure if they want to do this. These 68 loaded oil tankers carry about 16 billion liters of oil fuel altogether. This is equivalent to the average annual crude consumption in the entire nation of Greece. It's expected that unless those loaded oil tankers can get to their offshore ports to be unloaded, the price of oil will continue to go up. Now, the risk of oil spills is rising due to hostilities. And of course, all I know for sure is that the real situation remains fluid. And I also note that in Ottawa on Monday, Defense Minister David McGuinty, just an hour or so ago, he said that Canada will not be, just a day or so ago, he said that Canada will not be participating in the war in Iran in any way, shape, or form. After Prime Minister Mark Carney said something different last week. He did not rule out the possibility of Canadian military involvement. How's that for a diatribe? What do you think's going on in the Middle East, Richard?
Oh, everybody's trying to play out some role of the play. You know, all these different things that they're trying to do. A lot of distractions going on.
Is this a real distraction? I mean, this is a pretty major distraction.
It is, yeah. And I knew that was going to be the case. But the thing is, though, is that it's not a new war; it's an old war.
Mm-hmm.
People have to keep that in mind. It is not a new war. So, regardless of what these idiots in Congress are saying, this permission was given 47 years ago to do this. So
Good
now,
point. You've mentioned this before. Yes.
and Trump has got to. Trump is playing it out. That's what he's doing.
Hmm.
He's just not going to let the system. He wants to get rid of the war,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, this time he's going to get rid of it completely. So it means that what it means is that Iran is and its leaders. Oh, by the way, that new religious leader that they just elected.
The son of the old religious leader who was killed last week.
That's right.
And the colleague of the religious leader who was alive for like 20 years before they killed him in the first week.
Yeah, so I think that this one will be gone in a week or so. Because he's not going to. Trump doesn't like him.
Maybe. So, is there anybody left in Iran who you can legitimately negotiate peace with?
No, they're all religious fanatics. Now that could be.
Did they control enough of the country to enforce a ceasefire?
No.
Wow.
No. These are all religious fanatics, and their goal is to destroy America. They destroy the world, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So
what's Trump's end game? He just wants to. What does he want to do?
He already stated that he's going to end this 47-year war. He's already stated that. So really, there's nothing else that can be said.
Okay, I'll give you that. There will come a time, if he succeeds, when we have to start talking about things like how will we administer the peace?
Well, that's the other thing too. Yeah, first off, administering the peace is going to be making sure anybody who comes up with these radical ideas, like I'm going to be the one who tells you what to do, then they're going to have to be terminated immediately.
Ouch. That sounds like central control from the U.S. over the next little while.
Well, also from my backyard, because I'm for that too.
Okay. No, that's fair. It was an honest answer. I just wanted to clarify it.
Yeah. I'm not willing to deal with these terrorists, these people who have these ideas in their head that they can take over everybody's thoughts and control everybody's thoughts. It's not their job.
What about the subtext in this war over the last 2 weeks? The suggestion that the Israeli military is essentially calling the shots, and they're attempting to conquer all this territory directly for their own benefit when the war winds down.
Yeah, that's true. Of course, the Israelis really been pushing this ever since day one. So yeah, they're the ones that are going to be still controlling this because they're controlling the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that we can do to stop that.
Nothing we can do as Canadians. Is there anything the Americans can do?
Well, Trump has to stop pushing or helping out Israel because Israel is very evil, and we've already covered that in some of my stories in the past.
And that is one of the things that at least for the last couple of decades, the Israeli actions have proved that they are more than moderately evil. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but they have been acting evil.
You can't give them the benefit of the doubt because they have been, everything that they've been doing is evil.
Yes.
So I don't know what to do about that.
I don't know what to do about it either. It sounds like we will bomb Iran, not Canada, but the Americans and the Israelis. They will do that till there's nothing left to bomb. And
Right.
then the real war will take place. The Israelis will try to take over. The Americans will either hold them back or let them go.
Yep. And that'll all be interesting to see what happens here in the next little while.
Ouch. I thought that was one of the good pieces, but it seems like it's another a little bit of a depressing piece.
Yep. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Shall we go on to our next one?
Sure.
This one's hopefully a different. Hopefully, this is a little bit more going into what's really going on. This is the March 9th Catherine Austin Fitts on X post under the title IRS AI surveillance invading every bank account, folks. And the post notes the obvious. It notes that the IRS is deploying AI to rifle through the bank accounts of every American citizen without a single search warrant. And there's more on this story from Fox News. Here we go.
What we have learned is that the IRS, in fact, has been using AI to access bank accounts of American citizens without any kind of a search warrant or even without any specific claim that they have committed a crime. So this was something that was discovered by an undercover journalist, and what they found is that the IRS has claimed that they have access to every single person's bank account. This person also indicated that they've been working with the Department of Justice and that they have absolutely no problem whatsoever going after the little guy to make sure that they are paying their taxes. This is such a blatant violation of the Fourth Amendment that Jim Jordan and I sent a letter to the IRS demanding that they provide additional information about what they are doing with AI and what they are doing to protect the civil rights of American citizens.
So, Congresswoman, what's the end game here? Because at the end of the day, you can't put the AI genie back in the bottle, and it's so easy to use these technologies in the way that you're suspecting the IRS is. How do you protect American citizens and our constitutional rights?
Well, one of the things is we need a new administration in November, because this administration has been absolutely lawless in terms of its surveillance of us, of members of Congress, of local officials, of people who are protesters, of voters. This administration has completely ignored the Bill of Rights, whether it's the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment. They have weaponized the government against us. So one of the things
Now, don't get me wrong. The last 20 seconds is bullshit. But what do you think of the idea of the government using AI to validate everyone's tax returns?
I've always maintained that AI has to be used to help the people.
Yes.
In this case, it's helping the dead corporation called the government.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't agree with the use of AI the way they've been doing it, and the way they're trying to do it. That is illegal.
I don't agree with the bias of Fox suggesting that a Democratic administration would deal with this any differently.
No, they would actually put it in full implementation.
Yeah,
without question. They'd have no problem making a full implementation.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. But this is what's happening in the States. This comes on after the Canadian government managed to expropriate the bank account of every grandmother in Canada who contributed to the Freedom Convoy back in February 2022. So those resources being used in the States, frankly, are also available up here. So I don't know where we're going to go from here.
Yeah, I don't know either. It doesn't look good, does it?
No, Catherine Austin Fitts argues that this sort of stuff is the beginning of a panopticon. The central bank digital currencies, the tracking of everything we see, think, and do. And I agree with her. This is a problematic situation.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. So we're going to see a massive collapse worldwide, not just Canada, not just the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be it's going to be a worldwide issue. I don't care which country it is or anything like that. It will be a massive collapse of the entire economic system, your banking, and everything.
Will it happen all at once?
It's starting to seem like it will.
You don't think it'll happen to individual countries?
Well, you'll see one drop, then all of a sudden you'll see another one drop. And they're all going to drop like flies.
Yeah.
Like within a week, everything could be collapsed.
You've said this before, and you're right. The situation's getting scarier and scarier. There's so much cracks in the facade that we're seeing about the situation with precious metals, gold and silver, starting in November of this year. How the stuff should have gone up, how it really did go up, and then the central banks papered over everything with ETFs and fake currency.
Yeah. It's a good thing I got coins.
Is what?
Good thing I got coins.
You have coins. You have gold and silver coins. You have far more than me.
I have a lot of silver coins and silver bars too, but still.
I like the idea of silver. I bought it late, and even I made twice my return, even after the big crash in January.
Yeah, it's been bouncing around a lot because of the war. Let me just bring it up here.
Yeah, a lot of things are going really weird.
As a matter of fact, yesterday, when I looked at the price of gold was showing $9,000 an ounce. And then now it's back down to the $7,000 an ounce, Canadian.
That's a big jump.
Oh, I know. When I saw that, I thought, what the heck did that? But I guess it might have been...
I need to know more than that. I don't know what gold and silver are doing these days. I think they're consistently bouncing up against some sort of an artificial limit.
Well, it's a controlled limit by the four evil people in London, city of London.
Yeah, that's I don't know. That's just a reminder that we're not supposed to trust the banks.
Right, exactly.
This next piece, I'm sure, is good news. You want to go talk about the next piece?
Sure.
Now, for those of us in the mood for good news, here's a March 10th, 2026 Dan Dix on X post under the title Double Blow to Tyranny. Freedom strikes back hard with two massive wins. It's essentially two stories, and it's around 5 minutes, but I do think you will benefit by watching it through. So here we go.
Listen up, truth seekers, because I've got some good news for you. Right now, the walls are crumbling around the COVID tyranny machine. Two major victories just dropped, and they prove that the tide is finally turning against the COVID mandate madness. First up, a bombshell from British Columbia. BC Tribunal clears student of hate speech charge over COVID-19 video. A university student shared a 21-minute video in a private group chat. The video questioned the engineered pandemic, technocratic control, Bill Gates, the WEF, and the Great Reset. He mentions China twice, not as race hate, but as an authoritarian warning. In the context of Maoist-styled global governance models, one person ends up getting triggered and screams, "Hate speech against Chinese people!" They run to the Human Rights Tribunal. They demand punishment. They demand censorship. They demand that the state crushes dissent. Well, fast forward to March 10th, 2026, and the BC Tribunal shuts it down hard. The tribunal reviewed it, and the adjudicator ruled that the content focused on global actors and theories, not vilifying any ethnic group. There were no calls to hatred, no exposure to detestation. This was a private chat with private opinions. And sure, this video was offensive to someone, but offensiveness isn't illegal. Human rights law doesn't get to police your conversations like Big Brother. Private chats are not government speech police zones. This is a huge blow to the feelings over freedom crowd, and the line has been drawn. You don't get to weaponize human rights codes to silence political opinions. This is huge, guys, because it sets a precedent that you can't weaponize hate speech claims just because someone doesn't like your take on COVID policies. If they got away with this, just imagine the chilling effect. People would be afraid to forward a link or share an opinion, even in private. They tried to silence free speech over a link in a chat, but it didn't work because reasonable people know the difference between debate and hate. But wait, it gets even better. Arbitrator rules in favor of Air Canada pilots who were refused religious exemptions for COVID shots. Air Canada pilots, senior captains, men with decades in the cockpit, refused the experimental shots on sincere religious grounds. They said there were fetal cell lines from aborted babies in the shots, that this was against God's will, and that their conscience wouldn't allow it. Air Canada denied their religious exemptions. They boot them off the job with no paid leave like others got. They fired them, stripped their wings, and destroyed their livelihoods. Pure discrimination. These weren't anti-vaxxers making excuses. They were men of faith, standing on principle. And the arbitrator didn't hesitate. He said, I find without hesitation that their objections were grounded in real conviction, clear religious discrimination. They should have been placed on paid leave, like others who got the exemption. Now, the airline has to pay them compensation within 60 days for the injustice that they endured. This isn't just a win for pilots, guys. It's a massive slap to every employer who steamrolled religious freedoms during the mandate. The same system that locked people out of society, that divided families and coerced millions, is now being forced to look in the mirror. And it's ugly. They thought they could rewrite reality, but they were wrong. Folks, these cases show what I've been saying all along, that the mandates weren't about safety, they were about control. And when challenged in real courts and tribunals, they crumble. The overreach and the coercion, the attacks on free speech and faith, it's all being exposed and beaten back, one decision at a time. So today, I'm very happy to report that the tide is turning fast. The truth is roaring back. Religious freedom isn't up for debate. Private speech isn't hate. And following our God-given conscience is not negotiable. This is what resistance looks like. So keep fighting the good fight, my friends, because the truth is winning, and the truth will set us free. Please like and share this video if you are awake to all of this. Subscribe for more, and never stop questioning the narrative. And stay vigilant, guys.
I appreciate Dan Dix's enthusiasm. I appreciate that he did a good story about 2 wins. But part of me thinks that this piece should be with our first piece on C9.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he's going to be silenced, right?
Yeah. If we lose the religious exemption, we might be silenced.
Well, an attempt will be to silence, but people like me are going to be talking anyways. They're going to have a tough time silencing me. They're going to have to put that 22-cent solution.
I'm hoping they will. I'm hoping they will have a tough time silencing the 100 or so people we track every December on our listing of independent new media journals.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
But I have some concerns. Another Liberal minister came out this week and said they will be only taking questions from people accredited under the CIA media tax credits.
Oh, geez.
Fortunately, we don't need government talking heads to write good stories. As a matter of fact, I personally find that government talking heads get in the way of telling good stories.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
But I don't know where we go next.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next little while.
I think it'll be interesting to find out what happens starting Thursday. I think it'll be interesting to find out what happened at the beginning of the summer, because the protests are always louder and noisier in the summer. And I think it'll be interesting what happens in the second week in October. If I had to guess about all the economies collapsing together, I'd bet it happens the second week in October, because traditionally that's when it happens.
Right.
So I don't know. Shall we? I think we have one more quick piece. It's just a throwaway comment. This is the March 7th, 2020. No, it isn't. Yeah, the March 8th. I'm sorry, National Post story on how BC's conflicting Indigenous land claims are a problem 150 years in the making. It talks about the history of Native land claims in BC, and it talks about how BC created this problem for itself by not entering into treaties back then, and why there are all these massive land claims. Comments?
Yeah, well, that entire land claims thing, it's just, to me, it's another distraction.
How about maybe? But if I was a property owner, I'd be concerned about that.
Well, yeah, of course. But the thing is that these Indian claims, they don't have any standing anymore.
The government gives them standings.
The government tries to give them standing, but the people don't.
Yeah, the people are pushing back on this.
Right. And that's exactly what the biggest problem is right now.
The battle to fight back against government overreach, stupidity,
exactly, yeah,
malfeasance.
Yeah. Exactly, that too. Oh, I tell you,
is that the big battle?
We're looking at everybody's starting to come out. I remember about 6 years ago, you could cover a story. I could read a bunch of stories and things like that, and they would all be related for a couple of weeks, and they jump onto another story. Now, all the stories are coming out all the time at the same time.
Agreed. There are like 3 fucking huge stories this week that people are having difficulty tracking. Not just you and I, but just about everybody. Right. Even Alex Jones, with like 12 hours a day to talk about stories, is getting overwhelmed by the hundreds and hundreds of stuff he gets. I don't know.
I know. Like that's why now I'm dropping the number of stories I'm doing.
Yeah.
By half, so that I'm doing one big story on one day and another day. So Mondays and Thursdays, and then on Tuesdays and Fridays I'm doing. And those stories are really good ones, and some of them are feel-good stories and things like that. But I'm able to do the most recent stuff at that point in time. Because I used to push all these stories into the saved area, and I would eventually get to them. But now, that's too much work. Way too much work.
Wow.
So
now I agree. It's hard, yeah.
Now it's much easier for me to be able to manage all the stories. And I think the people, those people that might be watching, will understand that. We'll see that.
I think personally, I get so wrapped up in the stories that hit me when I open up the computer every morning, and I forget the important story, which to me is, I don't know, all our economies are going down the toilet.
Oh yeah, and you know what? I'm not even concerned about that. I'm sleeping so well by not even worrying about that, because I've known that for so long.
Oh wow. I haven't. I've come to that conclusion, I don't know, sometime over the last year or so.
Yeah.
You got to know, when we first started doing this 2 years ago, I was pretty clueless.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now you're becoming more clueful.
Want to go on to our last story?
Is that mine?
It is. It's the truth about licenses and what they represent.
Yeah, people, pay close attention.
Here we go. This is the March 7th Mongol Minds on BitChute post, the truth about licenses and what they represent.
All licenses are a fraud. Brace yourself. Let's go.
Book reference.
The term license is defined in law as, quote, a permit to do something illegal. What? Hold up. Run that back. The term license is defined in law as a permit to do something illegal. Somebody might be like, well, that's your opinion. See Black's Law Dictionary, 6th or 7th edition. Receipts.
Book reference.
License. Certificate or the document itself which gives permission. Are you listening? Therefore, all licenses are permits to violate the only real law. Inalienable rights are the rights bestowed by God at birth upon all living men. All other laws are subordinate to God's law. All other laws are subordinate to God's law. Bing bong. The controlling de facto government wants us to rely on their laws, so they demand that we apply for a license. You see the trick? For example, a driver's license, a marriage license, a gun license, etc. Anything that they say requires a license. That's pretty much everything. Somebody might ask, well, how do they get away with it then? They succeed in this intimidation through the corporate courts and police enforcement by so-called officers who have been brainwashed and reinforced by mandatory training programs. Wow.
Book reference.
States cannot license rights. A state may not impose a charge for the enjoyment of a right granted by the federal constitution. Did you hear that? No state may convert any secure liberty into a privilege and issue a license and a fee for it. Madouk vs. Penn. If the state does convert your rights into a privilege and issues a license and a fee for it, you can ignore the license and a fee and engage the right with impunity. Shuttlesworth vs. Birmingham. Receipts. Remember earlier how I mentioned a marriage license? Check this out. Those who apply for and marry pursuant to a marriage license have added a third party to their marriage contract. The third party is the master. By and through his agent, the corporate state. What? The marriage license gives the state the legal right to decide the fate of the husband, wife, and possessions they procure during their marriage. Keep in mind, licenses are legal, not lawful. Should the marriage fail, their divorce must now be decided by and through the state's corporate court by a corporate judge. And the judge's first and foremost concern is the interest of the state. You didn't need a license, but since you went and got one, the corporate state became your master and you the slave.
Wow.
What do you think of that?
I think
Shades-
those are primarily American regulations.
Nope.
No? Canadian?
Nope. That's Canadian too. Yep. Oh yeah.
Okay.
So shades of James Bond, A License to Kill. How about that, huh? So if you're going to go out and get a license, that means you're asking for permission to do something bad.
Suppose I just look for a license to get married, or suppose I get a license to drive a car.
That's right. Any licensing is meaning that you're going to be doing something bad. You need permission to do it.
I appreciate the logic behind it. But you and I have had this debate lots before.
Yep.
If I'm going to work in the bigger environment, they got the guns, so I got to defer to them.
I ignore their guns.
Eh.
Seriously. Nowadays, if I had known all this stuff in my 20s, my life would have been completely different.
How about maybe? I am open. I understand things have to change, but I am always concerned over the amount of guns the opposition has.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. I agree.
And I don't. No, you go.
No, I agree. They have a lot of guns, and they can try and use them on people as much as they want. But when people start to stand up and say no, then that's when they get scared and they put their guns down and go away.
Honestly, I do agree with that part. 100%.
Yep.
I think that the last 10 years seems to have trained us all to ignore the government, to ignore the laws, to ignore the courts, to ignore the authorities. We shouldn't be ignoring them. We should be putting them in their place. We should be disagreeing with them. We should be objecting to their malfeasance. We should be throwing them in jail when they break the law.
Yep.
Whether they be a big pharma company or an Epstein minion.
That's right. Yeah, every one of them.
But I think it's different. It's difficult to right now. It's a little difficult to follow through. Remember, the current U.S. president promised a long time ago that he was going to put Hillary in jail. You're thinking. You're in deep thought. Richard, are you there?
My battery, my UPS battery is dying, so I'm losing the audio and I can't see the video because my monitors are turned off. So
Oh,
just
crap.
to let you know.
Yeah. In that case, let's go on to the windup. What's going on next week with you? Richard's audio is crapping out on him. I'm going to do a wind up. I believe Richard will be working Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, starting at 7:30 a.m. with a whole bunch of interesting stories on all the channels scrolling along the bottom of the screen just below my chin. As for me and Freedom Forum, I'm going to Ottawa for the protest against Bill C-9 on Thursday. And we'll be back on Sunday. We normally record this show every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on a variety of internet platforms, including the one you're watching. We republish next day with notes on our Substack page, chuckblack.substack.com. Everything goes behind a paywall after a month online. So if you want to keep access, you got to pay a little bit. $20 a month, $160 per year. It entitles you to all sorts of neat things. We also have a Substack app to help you access Freedom Forum stories from your phone and subscriber chat, so you can tell us what you really, really want. My name is Chuck Black. I directed the show using StreamYards, which we recommend, but only if you sign up using Richard's or my link. We get a little bonus out of this at the end of each month to help defray some of our costs, and in Richard's case, to buy new batteries. We're done for tonight. The show notes will be up tomorrow on our Substack. We'll be back next Sunday night at 5:30 with another edition of Roasting the Press, and a week from tonight, 8 p.m. Tuesday, with another episode of Last Week Today. Richard, can you say anything to say goodnight?
Yes, I can. I can also see you. So if my UPS kicks out again, I can see you now and I can hear you now.
Let's wind up. I hope I didn't miss anything tonight. I thank you very much for your contributions. You're more of a nuanced commentator tonight. Maybe too much is going on. Anyway, good night. I'll see you in a couple of days. Huh?
You betcha.
Good night.
Night, people. I'll still be here. I'll hang around.
Okay.